Science jerks. Science jerks. Science jerks. The rate of change in acceleration of science. Science jerks.
Welcome to the Science Jerks. I'm your host, Dave Ciaccio, and we're on vacation this week. And by vacation, we have other jobs. But we'll be back next week with our special guest, Meg Swertlow. And until then, we put together a compilation of some of our favorite segments from the show so far. And we made a little theme that I like to call the birds and the bees. Also, this show is sponsored by Amazon.com and Audible.com. In one of these segments, Chan recommends the book Robbing the Bees, a biography of honey, the sweet liquid gold that seduced the world, by Holly Bishop. So check that out. You can buy it through the link on our website. And if you do that, we get a few pennies. And we appreciate it. So here are the following segments, which feature past guests Harrison Brown, Jacob Harper, Rebecca Leib, Jordan Morris, Scott Davis, and Dave Christenson. See you next week.
Ornithology.
Bright lights, big city. Chan here with Ciaccio and special guest Harrison Brown. City lights are turning blackbirds into sex monsters.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Science Jerks After Dark.
That's the headline I'm giving it. In fact, basically what's happening is they took some birds, they put them into simulated city light settings, and they found that they started secreting increased levels of testosterone and growing their sexual organs up to a month earlier in the spring than they normally would have.
Larger, more stable hard-ons.
Yes. Turns out that city lights are bird Viagra. It just sort of puts them into the mating season earlier because lights fuck up a lot of things, a lot of natural processes, like moths. The reason why they go towards the light is because their biology is set up to follow the moon. I'm going in this direction because the moon's over this way. So basically when you turn on a light bulb, they're like, holy shit, there's the moon. Whack, whack,
I landed.
There's moons everywhere. There's the moon. No, there's the moon. No, there's the moon. Moths have had enough time to adapt. Humans have had campfires for a good 10,000 years now.
Well, yeah.
Come on, moths, catch up.
Presumably they didn't run into fires because well, that's a hot moon. Don't want to go there. But with a light bulb, it's like, well, I'm running into the moon and I'm not dead. So I guess I'll just keep running into the moon. And,
well, what's the real problem with the moths going in the lights?
Oh, no, there's no problem. I'm just saying that's why they're doing that.
Actually, it's probably evolutionarily gained them an advantage because you go to a light and, there's a hot little girl moth
it's like
that's
a fucking,
also there.
Yeah. It's like a singles bar here, man.
Yeah.
Look at all
Did you think this was a moon, too? I thought this was a moon.
We have a lot in common.
You want to go screw?
You know what gets me in the mood? It's a moon. Yeah. You just head on over here to this
other moon.
Let's go to a more secluded moon where we can be alone.
So what are these European blackbirds are going crazy now?
Not crazy, but they just found that the birds' reproductive cycles were messed up from that. And
does this give them an advantage?
Or disadvantage? I feel like we don't know if this is a positive or negative thing.
Well, it'd be like if you could start having babies when you were 10.
But then also you may not be prepared to take care of those birds. Although, I mean, really, it extends the mating season. So there are...
When are single bird fathers going to take responsibility for the eggs that they're fertilizing?
I don't know if it does mess it up, because one of the things they're suggesting is that if they change the lights, they may be able to get rid of some nuisance birds. Like maybe a bird doesn't want to be in heat for an extra fucking month. Maybe they've got other shit to do. Maybe they just want to settle down and do some goddamn crosswords instead of having this raging boner that just won't go away. So maybe I'll just move move to the country where it's a little bit easier and I don't feel that constantly.
I feel like the only real downside is like over time, the birds will like overpopulate and take over the earth. I think that's the only downside that I can see here. Otherwise, I'm like, let them screw for a little longer.
Well, it's like an extra month. It's not like they're going 24/7.
Exactly.
So like,
That's not like they're staying over here.
yeah, no tantric blackbirds.
Although I'm sure a lot of the birds are like, all right, you can leave the nest now. It's been long enough. Like, we can... It doesn't need to be an extra month.
It's morning. Let's
Time
go.
to get out, move out, and get a job.
Here's
kids.
cab money. Now, shoo.
Happyology.
You guys, bees are awesome.
I was really hoping that you were just going to change the subject after that.
So now let's talk about technology.
Gosh, I do not remember the name of the author now, but there was a book called Robbing the Bees that I read many years ago, and I just absolutely fell in love with bees, which you don't really think of very often. Most people didn't think about it until the bees started disappearing a few years back, and turns out bees are super important for things like agriculture, because what farmers will do is they'll truck in a big old load of bees and they'll pollinate all of their vegetables and stuff, and
apparently they play a role in sex, as far as I can.
also that for teaching
Like our
fourth
sex,
graders,
or
it's something to do.
sex?
just as a teaching mechanism.
From what I've heard, there's
Because if you're just explaining
bees
to your children
involved and
the birds,
birds
they
do
all grow up
something.
gay.
Because birds don't fuck.
No. They just lay eggs,
Yeah.
and then the male fucking frottage basically
That's
jerks
right,
off onto the
frottage.
eggs.
I was trying to think of a
Isn't
name
it-
for that.
That's kind of how bees work too, isn't it?
That is basically how bees
queen
work.
lays a bunch of eggs,
Well,
and
no.
then some drones
They
jack
have-
off on them.
They have big group sex orgies, is what they do. That's what that hive is. It's just nonstop Studio 54 action there. It's like the dances.
I remember
Yeah,
the dances.
yeah. Okay, good. Glad we're all on top.
A lot of cocaine in the beehive circles.
So bees are fascinating, and they've been doing some experiments about bee intelligence, because basically we know about the concept of a hive mind, that bees are intelligent en masse. Altogether, they have a collective amount of information, like they can tell you how to, get to a particular flower that's full of pollen, that sort of thing. But they started doing experiments with individual bees, because why the fuck not? We've got this lab. Let's run some bees through some crazy
Let's
tests.
fuck with the bees.
Let's fuck with the bees. What they found, among other things, is that bees have a number of behaviors that are pretty astonishing. They figure an average rabbit has about 30 distinct behaviors, things that they do that you're going to, like some of
Pilates,
it's instinctual, but
yoga,
also rabbit Pilates,
running
is fucking
around.
crazy.
No, my brother used to own a rabbit. They don't do shit. They're awful pets.
They
If you're
gnaw
ever thinking
things
about
with-
getting a rabbit for a pet, don't get one.
So soft, but that's the extent of it.
Well, and they don't even like to be petted, though.
Oh,
but,
man.
But one of their 30 things is pooping their little
pooping,
round
yeah.
rabbit poops and eating it. And they do
Nice.
that, and they chew stuff
chewing
up.
through cables.
So a rabbit has 30 things that it does.
Rabbits got 30, beavers got about 50. Bees have at least 60
I've seen
separate
beavers
behaviors.
do lots.
60 separate behaviors.
Yes, well trained.
let that go.
The ping pong balls and whatnot.
Do you happen to have some of
I've seen
these
him
ones
smoke
that they
cigarettes.
found that, like, an individual, when you separate a bee away from his bee friends, what are some of the things that a bee will do?
Well, a lot of them are the dances, like different kinds of dances, directional things. They did some tests on them to figure out how their intelligence functions. Like, they tried to figure out how a bee tells distance to objects, and they found that it wasn't a distance thing, like it's 4.5 miles away, go this way. They go by landmarks.
use kilometer.
Bees use the metric system, so it's just completely incomprehensible to Americans anyway.
Communists.
They use landmarks. They put a bunch of tents out in the field to try and figure out, like how that changes their dance, rather than saying distance. They're like 4 blue tents. They can tell symmetry. If you train them to look for the reward underneath a symmetrical sign rather than an asymmetrical sign, they will do that. They can distinguish shapes. They can distinguish numbers. So if you show them 3 diamonds and then show them 3 leaves, they will go to the 3 leaf ones, rather than just saying, like, this one picture is equal to the reward, so they look for that one picture.
And this is individual bees, right?
Yes,
or is this
individual
a
bees.
group of bees?
No. You take a
So
bee.
a bee can pick out numbers. Somewhere in this article, it said that they can count to 4.
Yeah, that's kind of their limit. Beyond that,
4 is the highest number to a bee.
Yes,
Right.
Yes,
The
Because-
1, 2, 3, 4, many. Their counting system.
Okay, yeah, bees are smart, but also they're teeny tiny. We have about 85 billion brain cells, and they have fewer than 1 million.
Stupid fucking bees.
Idiots.
But the thing is, the reason why they're able to make them work is because the distances between the neurons are so much smaller that you don't lose as much information. Kind of like playing that game of telephone, like over a long distance, the information gets lost. But because they're right next to each other, you can get more information.
So they got a little Manhattan brain right there,
Yes.
like where everything, you just get to it right away.
They can store less details, but they're just sharp as hell.
Sharp as shit. They possess the power of metacognition.
Does that mean they can predict the future?
I'm scared already.
That's precognition. Thinking about thinking. That's something that, we sort of associate it with, like I think, therefore I am. The way they tested this is they taught bees easy tricks and hard tricks and send them off, and send them down a little pathway and like, okay, to the left is an easy trick, to the right there's a hard trick. And then they started putting things up like, here's a really hard trick, and they gave them an escape hatch. So if a bee thought that it couldn't do the difficult task, if it thought about it and, thought about its abilities and,
So they're
could it do this thing?
aware of their own limitations.
Yes.
Self-doubt. A self-doubting bee.
A little existential bees.
I was just about to say, a bee with existential angst. The bee that is given up.
There must be. I wonder if there's little bee alternative comedy clubs where angsty bees just.
Well,
go.
you've already separated him, so he's going to be doing his loner stand-up already. You've taken him out of that hive mind. He was in this nice little improv environment.
If you figure, like, most hives are just one big club anyway, there's got to be those few bees are like, man, I don't dance. I'm just going to go hang out in the corner and
Man,
think
that
about
dance
stuff.
club is a meat market. I'm gonna be a writer.
Sexology.
Okay, Ciaccio and Chan here with Rebecca Leib, and in the obvious science files to anyone who's ever been in the comedy community.
Or who has ever seen a comedy show on television.
If you've ever known a comedian, then
Or
you
a
know that men and women can't just be friends.
Okay, so this is taken from the scientific journal Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
Yes, Scientific American reports on this, that guess what? Heterosexual men who have heterosexual female friends want to have sex with them. And guess what else? Heterosexual women who have heterosexual male friends don't.
This is what?
The men, I love how obvious this article was.
Exactly.
We're still reporting on it, but everybody knows it all the time.
They did a scientific study on dudes with female friends want to fuck them. Chicks with male friends don't
Want
really.
them around to
or
fix
they just have no
cars.
idea. Like they're like, I
Or
don't
they're
know.
completely oblivious.
Can you just help me, like, like with my homework?
Can you
or, like,
open
build my
this
dresser?
jar for me? If I open this jar, then
no.
maybe someday she'll have sex with me. I'm just going to keep opening jars. They did they really did this study. They put men and women in different rooms and asked them questions about
like
their
friend groups.
platonic friendships.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, the guys all had sexual intentions. The women were all oblivious to those intentions.
But I also think that maybe the women were sort of socialized to be like, oh no. I don't know. I sort of feel like they were.
Are you saying there's hope?
Maybe.
Are you saying all those jars that I opened for you earlier were... Even though you didn't ask for them, I just opened them just in
Yeah,
case.
I came in with an array of jars. It was
I opened this bottle of wine, Rebecca. Did you like it? Do you like how I opened it?
No, I'm just confused.
you want any more
and
bottles
tired. I'm going to watch a romantic comedy.
Here, have some more wine.
It is good to actually put some scientific rigor to some of these things, because it is just sort of an anecdotal thing for the most part. Like, oh yeah, all guys want to fuck their girlfriends and all girlfriends don't want to fuck, or whatever. I imagine that the numbers weren't actually like 100% of the guys wanted to have sex with the women and, vice versa. But it is good to actually, do some research. And then at that point, you have that data, like, why? And does it vary by culture? Is that do the same? Because in essence, it's a mating ritual. So in South America, is the same thing happening? Is that like a universal trait, or is it just something that happens in Western culture or whatnot like that? They're interesting.
I don't believe that was a variable in the study.
No, but it's something that you can do eventually. This is the first step.
Yeah. Let's go to South America and see.
Let's open jars in South America.
Go make friends with some females and see if they also don't want to fuck us.
Oh, jeez. I really do. I think that women, like, I don't know. I think women are very socialized to be very, like, crowd pleasing in a lot of ways, and especially in a scientific context where they're being questioned. Like
but also, I mean, there's supposed to be like some anonymity there, and it's probably not like, okay, all the girls are in a room.
No, but you're in a room and you're getting questioned from platonic friend. You don't know really like what, they don't give you a whole lot of background information when you're doing these studies. A lot of them are like psychology students who have to go in for their credit. Right. I just think
you don't think though that then they would
I bet there's
open
some,
to answer like truthfully.
Some of them, but I think I don't think it's so one-sided as this article.
Sure.
There's definitely socialization involved. I agree.
And hopefully, they factor that in when they're coming up with those numbers. Like there will be a certain percentage that do that and all.
And you have to take into account the fact that sex is a bigger risk event for women than men in general.
Absolutely.
And it's best to approach women like that, saying, "Are you interested in engaging in a risk event?"
But that's how women think about it.
Would you like to do something that's no risk to me and a huge risk to you?
That's why women don't have as many one-night stands as men statistically, because it's just more dangerous.
It is. Absolutely it is. Especially when it's with us.
Sociobiology.
Chan here with Dave Ciaccio, Jordan Morris. So, of course, this story stuck out to me because, like, I don't know how many times as a child my mother said sticks and stones. Just say sticks and stones will break your bones, but words will never hurt me. And I took that to heart, and I made it through. I made it through my schooling years.
Was she beating you when she said things like that?
Well,
with sticks and stones.
With both.
Sticks and stones may break your bones, but parental abuse will make you stronger. Shut up and take it.
And stones hurt, but you stupid idiot, these words I'm telling you don't hurt.
Yeah, these are. Yeah, I mean, of all three of these things, I prefer the insults.
on a sliding scale, which would you rather have?
Your mom was just conducting science, apparently.
Yes, she was. Yes, she was.
And we have the result right in front of us: a broken man.
You get a comedian. Yes. Here's the experiment they did. There was a little game called Cyberball. You're playing it with two other people that are in separate rooms, and it's like a sort of a game of catch, except that the other two people were robots, and they found that once the computer started not throwing it to the person anymore, the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex started going off, which is
the pussy cortex.
So this is just like the meanest video game ever.
So it's a video game that leaves you out. Right. It has fun without you.
That's the whole point of it.
Keep away with you.
Like, fun.
Yeah, it's a game of Smash Brothers where no one will fight you.
A game of Halo where the aliens aren't interested in attacking you.
Hey guys, I'm sniping here. Where are you going? I can't.
Oh, yeah. God, we have somewhere we need to be.
Oh yeah, we've got so many other people to fight.
There's this other guy that's calling me a faggot, and I got to go kill them.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. You're just not very interesting. This portion of the brain is actually a part of the brain's pain network. Like the actual physical pain.
Oh, interesting. So the feeling of being left out is similar brain-wise than the feeling of getting hurt?
Yeah, of like
literally
actual pain.
painful.
Wow.
Yeah. One of the things that sort of clued them in and they started following down this path is when they did some animal studies with little rat pups. When they separated them from their mother, they found that morphine not only relieves pain, but it also assuaged some of those feelings of grief of that separation there.
They're recommending morphine when you go off to college.
Yes.
You leave your family.
Yes.
A steady regimen
Start
of
on
morphine.
I don't think there's anybody here at this table, and probably anybody who is listening to a science podcast, that doesn't understand that booze and pills will make things better.
Right. Oh, that would be cute with a rat with a little bottle of booze. that sounds very cute.
No, that is part of the. That is part of the. Yeah,
They get drunk at a little rat bar.
Just teeny tiny little balls with
mini
those little
shot
X's on
glasses.
them.
Yeah.
Little bitty joints. They can smoke behind the school.
Rat school.
The little
That's
rat
funny.
school.
Just have create a whole civilization for these rats.
The little mice over there that are playing keep away with a little other mouse's hat.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
they
no,
go around back.
It's funny. It seems like when we were kids, it seems like I think we all heard sticks and stones, but I think we're kind of the time we're living in now. It's like people are super super conscious of like cyberbullying, and there's the whole "it gets better" thing, which is sort of about bullying. So it seems like
it
people
doesn't get better for kids. Seriously, it
Oh, it's
just
always this
keeps
bad.
Going.
But you have money to buy booze.
Yes.
That's why it gets better.
Eventually, you will be 21, and it will be legal to
Yes.
make yourself happy.
Sure.
Get your weed card, and then
Yeah,
it does
move to California,
actually
get a
better.
medical weed card. Yeah, so I guess it does get better.
So long as you live in California, Washington, or Colorado.
There you go.
Otherwise, you're fucked.
So yeah, no, it seems like that's kind of cool, and I kind of wish that was more the popular attitude when I was a kid. That like, hey, you're not getting beat up, but yes, this is causing some damage.
Yeah, well, now that we're learning more and like, oh, yeah, it's not just like, oh, you'll get over. It's like, oh, there's actual physical or physiological reasons for this. It may be partially genetic. People with little mutations in their opioid receptors are more prone to depression, feelings of rejection and whatnot. Those parts of the brain just go off more.
It's like an actual gene that is either on or off that makes you more susceptible
Partly.
to emotional pain.
Some of it is, if
Because I've got like 7 of them.
You cannot take criticism at all. You can't handle even the slightest disappointment.
What do you mean by that?
When Pinkberry
Ask
gets
you
rid
on
of
my
the
podcast, and you tell me I can't take criticism?
Dave, there's some whiskey over there at the bar.
Yeah.
Go ahead and have some.
I don't envy you when Pinkberry takes away the cinnamon spice holiday yogurt, because he is going to be fucking impossible to deal with. Every year when McDonald's gets rid of the McRib,
I don't
pure
actually eat
disappointment.
it. I just knowing it's there gives
Sure,
me pleasure, and knowing that they're taking it away hurts me deeply.
There are McRib receptors in your brain. That's down here.
Is that
on page
another
3.
mutation?
Yeah, there's a.
That's a
there's
mutation
diagram
that's
over it.
actually caused by eating McDonald's, though.
Barnacle Sexology.
It's time to rethink Barnacle Sex.
Barnacle sex.
Barnacle sex.
How
You mean like
much
tentacles?
do we think about barnacles?
Prepare to think about it.
But do you not know what a
more.
barnacle is?
I feel like I don't.
Do you know what
The
happens
stuff
when
on
you get keel
barges.
When I get what?
Keel hauled. The old pirates, they would take a guy and they would run a rope underneath the boat, and they would basically tie him to the other and drag him all the way
Okay.
under the boat, because under the boat are all these little shell-like creatures, little
Okay.
barnacles.
And they're in.
So you were talking about barnacles having sex with each other,
Yes.
not people having sex with barnacles.
Barnacle's about yay big, so it's pretty tough to...
How big is yay? over
Oh,
a
there's a
podcast?
fetish of that somewhere.
I've said about the size of a pea. Ballpark?
A penis?
Well, I think they get bigger. I've
how-
seen barnacles that are like the size of a
Quarter?
golf ball, maybe.
Oh,
Oh, I bet they get big.
I think they get bigger.
Yeah.
And they have, what is it, the longest penis in the crustacean world? They have penises that are something like 10 times the length of their bodies.
Whoa.
Where do they keep it?
In
Where do
their
you keep
pants.
yours?
They don't have barnacles. Don't have pants.
Yes, they do.
They, I guess they
Get it at the Gap.
Barnacle pants?
That is a legitimate
They're hard
question.
pants.
They must
They're
like
hard
just
pants.
spin it into a ball,
Yeah,
or
they
they
got
crush
it.
it up inside their little barnacle
Okay,
house.
I want everybody to pull their pants down right now.
Okay.
It's
Done.
Go ahead. Okay. All right, everybody. Okay. See
got
how
it.
it's
Yep.
limp?
No,
Okay.
mine
okay.
isn't. We're
Mine's
talking about.
Scotty's isn't.
We're
Everybody
talking
else is.
about barnacle sex.
If you're living inside the barnacle shell and your penis is 10 times longer than the shell, there's most of you is got to be penis inside that shell, right?
Oh yeah,
Barnacles can suck their own dicks.
and they do probably most of the day.
It's not just all fun and games for barnacles, because the problem is they can't move, because barnacles suction themselves onto boats and such. such, and then
Which is the reason why they got
How
extra
do they
long
get
pickers.
first there if they can't move?
They float
they
there as a little
float around
So
when
they-
they're little zygotes or whatever you call them.
Okay.
build the shell around
And when
them.
they find something to connect to, they stick to it for life.
Generally,
and they
boats
grow there.
piloted by Johnny Depp.
That is fascinating.
That's their preferred habitat.
Are they on
So-
whales as well? Do barnacles
Yeah,
attach themselves
they grow on
to
whales.
them?
They grow on big
right?
fish.
And they're on one of those pirates in Pirates of the Caribbean, right?
I don't think they're on a couple of those,
Yeah,
aren't
yeah,
they?
yeah.
On the bad guys?
Jeffrey Rush.
I see here that
Oh,
it
yeah.
says the sex shocks scientists.
Yes.
Well,
Why?
okay, because this
We're just getting started.
yeah, this is normal.
So they used to think
10-time long penis. That's normal.
That's normal for a barnacle.
they knew that about the 10, let's say 10-foot penis.
Because you live in one place, so the only way to get your sperm to someone else is a
By the way, they're hermaphrodites, so they all have penises and
so it's a
vaginas.
giant sausage.
So they're all
24/7.
underneath the boat. There's a lot of crazy perverted sex going on. They're stuck to the bottom of the boat and they're like flinging their penises around looking for other barnacles to
They're
inject.
open for business.
Straight up key party.
And this was known by scientists for a while. What wasn't known is there is another way that they reproduce, which is,
Some barnacles have teeny tiny peepees.
yeah, they found these barnacles that have small penises, and they were like, how the hell did they have sex? And what they found was that they just shoot into the wind, so to speak, or the water.
Like,
And
so they're like flowers.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's very much like flowers. Yeah.
Okay.
So underneath
Little
the
tiny
boat,
pecker flowers.
there is just a swamp of barnacles shooting their bukkake
load.
everywhere. And they
Wow.
have found that they are reproducing just randomly by the water currents bringing the sperm from barnacle to barnacle. And
That's something that sponges have done, but they didn't realize that any crustaceans could do that sort of thing.
they were surprised because they didn't think that it would be evolutionarily that would be good enough to keep a species going because it's kind of random and haphazard and
If we do that, we can't get her pregnant.
Yeah.
right. You also get arrested if you just open your window and shoot up into the air. Not a good method for reproduction.
Here's the thing. Those aren't the only folks that do it. Sponges, now crustaceans.
Birds do it. Bees do it.
Dude, that'd be disgusting. If
For the
bees did it.
record, that's how I have 4 kids.
Wow.
One in Chile,
You were just flying
one in-
over and
By the
just-
winds.
one in Antarctica.
But-
I feel like I can't picture a scientist being shocked by that.
Do you think one of these
poor
scientists got woken up in the middle of the night by his assistant, and his assistant said, "Sir, you have to take a look at what I've found."
And he ran through like a submarine corridor because it's in a submarine, right? Their lab.
yeah. In Death Mountain.
It gets even weirder than that. The grunion is a fish. The female will come out onto land, burrow about 3 inches into the sand,
And say,
just
"Come and
pussy
get
a
me, big
flapping
boy."
out there. All of the male fish then come around and jerk off into the hole. That's straight up.
It's against God's plan, is what we're
land, sea, bukkake orgy.
That is shocking.
Filth.
Can we
And
see
yet I get arrested for one time on the subway.
Because you have to have a whole gang with you.
Yeah. That makes it better.
God created Adam and
Disgusting.
Eve.
By the
not
way, can you see video of
Adam
this,
and
of
Adam
fish?
and Adam and Adam and Adam and
Can you
Adam
see
and
video
Adam
of
and
that
Eve.
fish?
Yeah, I want to
Yes,
see
you can.
that.
We need to pull that.
Here's
I
how I
want you to
heard
pull
about
it up while
it.
we're
I
here.
heard about it from an NPR story.
I've seen
So we're not
grunions.
even talking like a crazy, filthy Japanese website. It's straight up.
You can
public
see them at
radio.
night. A certain time of the year, I think I was on some Southern California beach. I don't remember.
And
Dave is a
collect these
creep.
fish.
Hanging out on
Well,
beaches
you can
at night.
just you stay there and just watch them fuck. Oh yeah. Oh, here comes another one.
And you probably joined in.
Sitting there eating,
There's little like
eating
half
some fish
There's
sticks.
half grunion, half Ciaccio fish now swimming around
Oh,
San
man.
Diego. My biggest fear is that a time travel from the future after the great epidemic of bird flu will come back to the past and inadvertently infect us all with the bird flu, thus causing the pandemic that he was trying to avoid.